Hi, I want to take a few moments here and talk about our lab 12, which is on mail servers. So let me share my screen real quick. And I'll share screen. So the lab is here. Let me get this sized right. So we're going to do, first step is we need to add internet access to our routing remote access server. So previously we used this when we had our LAN A and LAN B, Win10.1, Win10.2, DHCP, and Active Directory. So what we need to do now is go into our router remote access server and make sure it's off. And we're going to go into the settings and we're at another network adapter. And we're going to make sure this is on the Intel gigabit virtual switch, right? That will give us internet access. So we're gonna hit OK there. And now let's start this up. Okay. So once that's running, we're going to take a look at the network and sharing. So I'm gonna multitask a little bit here. So while that's turning on, I'm gonna go in and create this Win server virtual mail virtual machine. Okay, so let me go over here, minimize that. Now, what I need to do is create a new differencing disk based on the Win server parent. So I'm going to call this, and what do I call it? Win server dash mail. So let's go VHTX differencing. Win server dash mail. Browse, and I'm going to base this on the Win server parent and finish. Okay, then I'm going to create a new VM based on that with the same name. And it's a Gen 1. We're going to give it 4096. And this is going to be connected to LAN A. And I'm going to use an existing hard drive. And there's my mail. There you go. So let's finish that. And then let's start this one up too. All right. So we'll let that run here in the background. Let's go back over to RRAS. See where it's at. It's still starting up. All right. Well, I'm going to have to start Active Directory as well, and DHCP, and Windows 10.1. Now, with Windows 10.1, make sure your network connection is on LAN A. I know last week we used this for our honeypot, and we put it on the Intel, but switch it back over to LAN A. And we can start that one too. All right. We're not going to use Windows 10.2 this week. All right. So let me see if my router's up and running yet. It's still going. But what we're going to do is come into the router and basically we are going to make sure it is on the 10.29.72.0 network. And then we're going to go into the router, disable it, and re-enable it. All right, so let me show you how to do that. And with all these running, you're going to have a little bit of an issue with performance. I mean, it's going to use up quite a bit of resources. So you're just going to have to be patient here. So we'll let this start up. Okay. So once we're done with that, we're going to set up the mail server and make sure that we can log on, and then make sure it gets on the LAN A network, which is 192.168.1.0. All right, so here's RRAS, and I need to set this up. Let me see something here. Yeah, so I have LAN A, LAN B, and Intel. Now your router, you probably won't have to initiate it like this. This is a new build, so I'll do it here. It doesn't take too long. All right, so let's go to our RAS server. And if I look at the adapters now that we added that internet connection, we should have, let's see here. Yeah, we have LAN A, LAN B, and then this one I'm going to call this internet, okay? And we want to make sure this is on the 10.29.72 network. Perfect. All right. So now what we want to do is on the router, come into routing, and we want to right click, disable routing and remote access. All right, so all that does that. So here we are, router remote access, right click, disable. They're going to right click and select configure and enable custom. And we're going to click both NAT and LAN routing. So let me show you that. So here we go again, configure and enable, next, custom, NAT and LAN routing, next, and finish. Start the service. Let's finish up. All right, so now what we need to do is rebuild our thing here. So let's expand IP version 4, then we're going to click general new routing protocol. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put that DHCP relay back in. So IP version 4, general new routing protocol, DHCP relay. Then we're going to right click on it and go, I believe it's properties. Yeah, right click properties, 1.2, click OK, right click new interface, LAN B. So properties, and here's where we put in the IP address of the DHCP server. And then right click new interface, and we went into anything on LAN B that looks for an IP address. We want to make sure it gets relayed across to our LAN A interface, which is on 1.2. Okay, and we'll leave that there. Right, so then the next thing we need to do is same setup. Next, right click on NAT and select new interface. And this one, we're going to select the internet. And we'll leave this public, enable NAT on this interface. So select public interface, connect to the internet, and check enable NAT. So now we're going to, so that's good. All right, so the router is good to go now. But now we're going to have to come back over to DHCP and modify this server. And make sure you're logging on as CNET and the CNET 2021 exclamation point password, just like we did in the other labs. I'm going to go into server manager and go into DHCP. And I'm going to modify both these scopes. So for the scope options, DNS, I'm going to add in here 4-bit. So an internet DNS server, which these are Google's public internet DNS servers. I'm just going to add those in. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for scope LAN B. And we're really not doing anything on LAN B today, but let's just get a habit to get in there. And then we want to restart this server. More actions, all tasks, restart. Okay, so here we are. We added it for LAN A and LAN B. And now let's go test Windows 10.1. So we can close this. We can actually close that. So now if we come over to Windows 10.1 and look at our network. So really all I'm going to do is just disable and enable this. Let's come in here. And I'm just going to disable and then enable. And now you can see that's I don't want to do that. It's going to want to finish the setup because I didn't have internet when I set it up before. So let me just go through this real quick. All right, yours shouldn't do this because we had it set up there. So I'm going to cancel that. Okay. So now this machine has internet access, right? You can see that it has internet. So perfect. So now let's take a look here. So we should be good to go on all those machines. Now, one thing I wanted to point out as well is these servers, if they don't have internet access, they're going to say that they can't update the license, the 180-day trial version. So sometimes what you have to do is come in here, put it on the internet for a second. So let's just come in here. All right. Actually, on my domain, I don't need to do that. So, all right. So let's keep going here. So now we need to go into the Win Server virtual machine. So we already created this, right? We did that at the beginning of the video. So we're going to start it up, log in, and we're going to verify that we're on the right network. And then we're going to make sure we get an IP address. So let's do that real quick. So again, this is going to say, you know, do you accept the licenses? Give it a password. Okay. So while that starts up, let's just review what we need to do. So first thing, we're going to make sure it's on that it got a DHCP address, which it should. Windows 10.1 did, so there's no reason this one shouldn't. It should be on LAN A. We're going to write down our IP address here, and we need to change our server's name to mail.cnet.lab. So first thing we'll do is change it to mail, then we'll put it on cnet.lab. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to log in. And again, this is just a local server. It's not on the domain yet. So just administrator here. Give that a second to load up. All right. Yes. Why doesn't that have internet? Let's see here. Okay. I'm just going to disable that and re-enable it. There, now it got internet. All right, so that just had a stuck configuration before I updated the DHCP. All right, so now on this one, what I want to do is one, verify that it has a IP address on the 192.168.1.network, which I do, 192.168.1.100. And now my DNS, those internet DNSs weren't there when I checked earlier. All right, and then I want to change this name to mail, and I want to join it to the cnet.lab domain. Okay, C could not be contacted. All right, so sometimes that if you get that error there, double check and make sure, first make sure Active Directory is running. And then the next thing we want to do is go to PowerShell and try to ping it and see what happens there. Okay, so it's trying to do an internet. See how it's doing the 23 dot. Okay, so what we need to do to fix that is come into our network settings, and we'll just have to do this temporarily, just for a minute. So we don't want it to use the internet DNS. We only wanted to use our local DNS. So go in and just change this for a minute. Like that. And now I get a reply from our domain, and I can add it here. Now I should get prompted with the username and password, and this is CNET. CNET 2021. And what this is going to do, we want to add it to the domain. So we'll add a DNS record, a pointer and an A record in our server. So let's let that restart. So here we are, reboot the server, log on to CNET at cnet.lab. And so there's a couple things we still got to do here. Yeah, so again, if you can't add this machine to the domain, after you modify the DHCP, just go in and manually set your DNS to 192.168.1.3. And then when we're done with that, we're going to put that or we'll undo that, use the static DNS, and we'll set it back to DHCP. And then everything will work on the internet as well. All right. All right, so now we're going to log on, verify our host name. I'll show you how to do that. Right, so log on other user. Away we go. It's going to build its profile since it's the first time we're logging on as that user on this server. All right. So this loads up. A couple of things we need to do here. First, let's put this back to the way it was. What we're going to do is undo that. And then disable and enable. And then we should have internet connectivity. There we go. All right. So the next thing we need to do is check the host name. So the easy way to do that is just open PowerShell or a command prompt. And we want to make sure this says mail.cnet.lab. So just type host name here, hit enter. And it says mail. Okay, good. So let's close out of that. All right, then the next thing we want to do is, since we're going to need the file share, we need to go into the gpedit.msc. And we need to turn on that LAN man. So remember, that's under computer, administrative templates, network, LAN man workstation. And we want to enable this insecure login. So click enable there and then there and hit OK. Because we're gonna have to go get a file here in just a little bit. Next thing we want to do is go to the share, open the share folder, and we're going to copy this HMail server over to our machine. So if we come into, now that we enabled that LAN man, so 10.28.72.50. Let me see that GP edit, make sure I did that right. All right, let's troubleshoot. This is good. This is like real world stuff here. Ping it. Okay, so we can ping it. So there's probably just that GP edit. So what I'm going to do is just do the force that update policy. Sometimes if you make a change and it doesn't work right away, sometimes you have to just force it. So even though that's a local security policy, it will go out and grab the information for us. So let's let this update. So I could ping it, but that LAN man workstation was still, even though I set it to enable to allow insecure logons, it still wasn't finding it, which means that the group policy didn't get changed or it didn't get updated yet. All right. This user computer, looking at details. Okay, so let's see if that, sometimes that's enough to bump it into action. All right, so it still didn't take that. So let's, well, let's skip ahead a little bit and let's go here. So here we want to add a feature. So instead of clicking on roles, click on features, and we need the .NET framework. Okay, now we'll install that. And while that's doing that, I want to look at this. Let's turn on network discovery. Look at our network. Okay, we see the server, local server. Okay, so that's still not. No, that's another. All right, well, let's let this finish and then we'll. All right, so I installed the .NET Framework 3.5, and I restarted this machine, and I still wasn't able to get onto that file share. So what I had to do to fix that is I went into the Active Directory machine, the domain controller, went into the group policy on the domain, right? So you right click on this, edit, then under policies, administrative template, under computer, network, landman workstation, I enabled that policy here. So now it's enabled, and then I did a GP update / force. And now if I come back over to my server, WinMail server, and I go to my share, now I get the access to it. So remember, if you get the credentials are CNET58, CNET58. So what I want to do now is grab this landman or HMail server. So you can see it's this application here, HMail server. If you sort it by date modified, it's the most recent one, and then copy to the desktop. All right. So that is here. So I just did this. So we copied the file. Now we installed the .NET framework, and now we're going to install the mail server. So now let's just double click. Yes. And here I'm just going to go next, accept, next, next, next. Use a built-in database engine, which is the SQL, Microsoft SQL. We'll call it HMail server. The password, use our regular password, CNET2021 exclamation point. And install. Now this is going to install the database for us. So that's going nicely. And then now we're going to run our server. Okay, so we want to connect to the system running here. And the password, 2021. We want to add a domain, and our domain is going to be cnet.lab. Then we're going to add an account. So we need to add, we're just going to do user 1. And the password, first user 1 was CNET2021, exclamation point. Save. Now we're going to do another user, add user 2. Exclamation point, and that's it. Okay. So there we go. We got user 1, user 2. Now let's go back over to the Active Directory, and we want to add an MX record. So we're really done with that guy. Let's come over here, and we're going to go to our DNS tool. And this is going to be in the forward lookup zone and the cnet.lab. So if we click here, you can see that it created the host record for us. But we need to click anywhere underneath this last one, and we want to say new mail exchanger. And the host is going to be mail, and then the fully qualified domain name is mail.cnet.lab, and then we'll put mail.cnet.lab there as well. Okay, give it the, and then leave the server priority at 10. Okay, then hit OK. And that's it for the DNS. And now it looks like this, right? That's what our DNS should have looked like. It got out of there a little too quick. But if we go to the forward lookup, CNET.lab, and now we have our mail, our host record, which is the pointer to this machine on the domain. And then this tells us any mail requests need to come in here as well. All right. Now, there is one other thing we do need to do. I think I missed this part. Oh, yeah. What I wanted to do, and I kind of glossed over this, is disable the firewall on the mail server. So let's go back over to Windows Server Mail. And if I just go firewall, Windows Defender, and turn Windows Defender Firewall on or off. So I'm just going to turn it off, turn it off, turn it off for all three of the locations. And yeah, otherwise our mail client won't get through. All right, so now I'm going to go back over to Windows 10.1. That's where we're going to test the rest of this. And so now we're over here. We're almost done. Release and renew to get the updated, which we've already done. And we're going to go download Mozilla Thunderbird. Let's open Edge. If you don't get internet, just release and renew or disable and enable the adapter, and it should be okay. All right, so let's just do a search for Mozilla Thunderbird. Download. Go to download, free download, save. I don't know about you, but I always like to save them. That way, if I ever need them again, I don't have to go download them again. If you just run it, it runs it and then gets rid of it when it's done. So let's let that go. Run the security scan. See if it's in there. All right, so that's done. Let's okay, it's still running the security scan. Come on. All right, so now let's open the folder. And we're just going to do a quick install of Thunderbird. Close that, close that. All right, so let's just see here. Launch Thunderbird setup, perform a standard setup. When it's finished, click on finish and leave the Thunderbird now launch that checked. Then we're going to enter in our name and stuff. So let's get to that point. All right, so yes. And we're just going to go next, next. And that was standard. We're going to use Thunderbird as our mail client. Nice thing about Thunderbird, it's free. It's open source. It works with everything. And it's a good little client. And we can have more than one account on here, which is really nice. All right, so what we're going to do here. So we'll come up here in just a moment. So we want to set up our email. So we're user1 at lab CNET 2021. If we hit continue, we're gonna get an error here or a warning. because the certificates are all self-signed. So failed to find the settings. So let's go back here and skip that. So user 1. And ports, we'll leave all that. Let's retest this. Oh, okay, let's change. No, we want IMAP. Let's do. Okay, so that worked. So if CNET.lab doesn't work, put mail.cnet.lab. Then hit done, and then we're gonna have to hit I understand the risks. Okay, now we have user 1 here. Let's do another email for user 2. Let's do manually here. Well, let's just test it and see what it does. Okay, didn't like that either. So do mail. Like that. Understand, done. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to go to the user 1 inbox, and I want to send an email from user 1 to user 2. And you can just say, send. And then from user 2, notice I got the email. I'm going to write one from user 2 to user 1. And send that. Now if I go over to user 1, I'll get an email here. And then what I want you to do is just show me, take a screenshot of your sent emails here and your sent emails here. And that's it. So once we get everything set up, it'll go no problem. So you might see this. I don't know why mine didn't get the mail.cnet.lab, but I put it in there manually and it worked fine. And then away we go. So create the accounts and send the email. Then I just want to see a screenshot of your sent mail from user 1 and a screenshot of the sent mail from user 2. All right, so hopefully that's not going to be too difficult to get this all set up and running. And good luck.